Guess I'm going to speak with my mouth partially full here with the chips and salsa we have for part 2. Let's talk about cursed items. Cursed items, I don't know how many of you use them in your own campaigns, or if you've had them used against you. Cursed items in a meta sense, right? We're just talking about rules of a world, playing the game of D&D. A cursed item can help advance a plot, create a little complication, or they act as a check against greedy adventurers. Because not all items that are magical are straightforwardly beneficial. Or cursed items can be made and planted amongst other treasures to punish those or to track those who might steal the hoard. Yeah, instead of a necklace of fireballs or it's something it can be lethal, kind of like what 12 for 10 has said. Or it could be a little bit more mischievous. It could be subtle. A curse can come along with sentience. Don't think that we can't. In fact, we started this week by making we made an item. We ended up then basing it from a description on a bag of devouring, but the item itself is kind of its own thing. And then we went through everything we're doing afterwards. We made it sentient. We made it, cursed, or we put all this other stuff on it. And it was a lot of fun. And by the way, don't think that an item like a bag of devouring is a magic item, not a cursed item, because it's functioning as intended. Right? Let's go back to what we began this week with the Unearthed Arcana, the magic items of Eberron. The Band of Loyalty. It's a common ring, requires attunement. If you are reduced to 0 hit points while wearing this ring, you instantly die. These rings are favored by spies who can't afford to fall into enemy hands. This is working as intended. This is not a cursed item. If you identify this magic item, you will get this information. And the reason why I say identify or something similar is as such. Let's go. So this is talking about villains here on 94. Let's go to the magic item section where it talks about cursed items. 138. Daniel doing a mini giveaway. Not unless someone wants to sponsor a box to put up into a raffle. There's not a general one. Yep, it's a cyanide pill of D&D. Exactly, Astreas. Hey, Warden Murphy, good to see you. Sentient weapons or items are fun. Yeah, we just made some really interesting ones in the first segment. Would the helmet we made yesterday have some kind of sentience with its muttering ability? Not necessarily, because it's providing direct feedback to a direct question. So the muttering may not necessarily tell you anything or have a personality or observe and react in a more natural fashion. It could just be a bank of knowledge that the magic regurgitates. Like some kind of... It would be like saying a divination spell is sentient when all it's doing is fetching information and handing it to you. Now, I mean, we could talk about a blurred line. If you want to take it that next step and give the helmet a personality and not just have it be data feedback, then it would have sentience. Alright. Cursed items. Remember, class, open your Dungeon Master's guides to page 138. This is our lesson in cursed items. I feel like I feel like a Hogwarts professor now. Though I'm definitely not a professor of the dark arts, because you don't want to teach in that position. All sorts of stuff happens to you. Okay. Some magic items bear curses that bedevil their users, sometimes long after a user has stopped using an item. A magic item's description specifies whether the item is cursed. Most methods of identifying items, including the identify spell, fail to reveal such a curse, although lore might hint at it. A curse should be a surprise to the item's user when the curse's effects are revealed. Attunement to a cursed item can't be ended voluntarily unless the curse is broken first. A curse should be a surprise to the item's user when the curse's effects are revealed. Attunement to a cursed item can't be ended voluntarily unless the curse is broken first, such as with the remove curse spell. And even then, you as a DM, you might say, this curse, you might consider it a curse, but maybe it's working. It might be something different. It's higher level than remove curse can handle, or something along those lines. I know it's your story. But we're going to go through some methods to curse items here. In fact, a ring of insulting gestures, right? So if you're wearing the ring, it just automatically, like, your fingers start to curl until you just have two left, and the one finger starts getting really curly, and you're like, no, I can't, and then, you know, whoop. Hell, yeah, it could be minor like that, Viking. In fact, some curses could be comical. You could have fun with a curse, even. You know, it could have someone, talk with a lisp, or stutter, or, I don't know, it makes their eyes constantly change color. All right, let's roll up some base items and then go through some cursing exercises. Right, class? I'm not teaching defense against the dark arts. I guess I'm teaching you the dark arts. All right, so a couple things here. For this, I mean, we can create potions and scrolls that have mishaps. In fact, there's even a segment in here that talks about variant rules that you can employ as a DM. Mixing potions and scroll mishaps. You know, stuff like magical explosion, or the spell affects the caster or an ally instead of the intended target. Things like that. XCat says that I read it. Okay, so I have a concept for this beholder bottle thing. My current idea is flash of the beholder. This, so is it like flask of the beholder? This flask can hold a potion and will refill once per day with its set potion effect. However, each time you drink from the flask, roll 1d100. If you roll a 1, you turn into a beholder. Yeah, that could be a cool item as well. A necklace of animal baby talk. So what, you're standing in front of the big bad evil guy, the Lich is going on his villainous monologue, about how he's going to bring blight down upon the living and control everyone. You know, and you just look up and you say, "Who's got a little plan? You have a little plan? Oh, what a cute little evil domination plan. Oh, you want belly rubs? I'll rub your belly with my sword. Come here. Come here, you little lich." Okay. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. We're going to roll 7d10. Actually, we're going to make it just a 9-sided if we're going to roll them all at once. And 7 of them. Eight, seven, 9. 5, 3, 8, 2. All right, so this is B, C, E, G, H, H, and I. All right, so nothing on A. On B, we do have a B. So we, in order to not get consumables, we have a 7. We have 17. Ten. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Mithril armor. On C, we have 82. So we have 19 items. 18. A Periapt of Health. No D, but we do have an E. Potions. Okay, 86. 4. 86, 87, 88, 89. So universal solvent. No F, but I do have a G. And here we have almost everything. So we're going to roll a full D percentile. 7. A weapon plus 2. Okay. Then we have 2 H's and an I. 86. A manual of gainful exercise. And 80. An Ion Stone of Insight. And lastly, on table I, which is the biggest, baddest, 56. An Iron Flask. Okay. Oh, yes, the sort of adult moans when you strike something. Instead of apologizing, it actually just makes lewd noises. Handkerchief of peppered nose tickles. Delcorn doesn't seem to like that idea. Oh, okay, X-Cat. Now look at this real quick. By the way, Coffee Cat, for Inktober, drew a scene from Tuesday's roleplay game. And so this was his practice for Inktober, and this was a scene from Tuesday. Really good. And if you want to know what's going on here, hey, check out the VOD, or the videos will be uploaded probably tonight. Hey, look at that, X-Cat. Oh, the baby talk one? Who's a little lich? Look at that. Isn't that neat? Flask of the Beholder. Yep, that's really cool, X-Cat. Good work. It's no MS Paint drawing, but I'll let you go on that one. Ah, yes, Delcorin unsheaths his sword's smiling edge. Ah, hey, Aqua, welcome. Yeah, that would be spooky just sort of sitting there, wouldn't it? Okay. There was one paragraph in the DMG about how to make a cursed item. And you may say, well, but where's the tables? Where will it tell me how to curse an item? You're the DM. You come up with something. A curse can be on anything. I mean, you could argue it's even on a mundane item. We're just rolling all magic items. You can have a normal sword that's a cursed sword. So don't forget that either. Original thought was it makes a wearer to baby talk any animal, but baby talking a big bad is amazing. Okay. What are some curses that you can apply? What are ways that you can apply a curse? Use what's available to you in the player's handbook and the DMG alike. One way, an item will impose a background flaw onto someone. So, for example, someone reads from the Manual of Gainful Exercise. And what occurs while holding the book, or if you've imbued the knowledge, maybe it's permanent. So maybe just by holding the book, you get this flaw. But when you read it and gain from it, this becomes a part of your personality. Let's roll. There's 13 backgrounds. We're going with background 6. And flaw number 6. We're going to roll a 1d6. 6 and 4. Let's look at our character generator here. 6 is an artisan or merchant, okay? So let's go to our player's handbook. Chapter 4. Here we go. Guild Artisan. The flaw is number 4. And it reads as follows. I'm never satisfied with what I have. I always want more. And that's the curse. When you have this book, or if you consume its knowledge, you attain this flaw as a curse. You're never satisfied with what you have, and you always want more. Hey, Daily. We're getting into applying different ways to curse items. And we made 2 really cool sentient items before that. Yeah, you can make gotcha traps like that, Estrellas. Dark Wolf was thinking it grants the wearer speak with animals so the player would want to use it. Then reveal you have to baby talk to the animal. Oh, yeah, see, that could be fun, too. Drow elves with a Hungarian accent. Dwarves with Irish and German. Aqua says Ring of Thornberry. User can speak with animals, but is convinced they are on a nature expedition. Has an affinity for saying smashing, even if you're using piercing or slashing weapons. Okay. A base item. Some weapon plus 2. And we can roll. I mean, is it a sword, a maul, a great sword, a club? It's a plus 2 weapon. Something quirky is like what you're saying over here that could be appropriate for your campaign, right? It could be something as benign as your nose grows, right? In fact, here, let's do something quirky based off the weapon we generate. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. Let's manufacture a 37-sided die and find out. 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. It's a flail. A flail plus 2. What is something quirky that we can put on a flail? So a flail is a weight on a chain attached to a handle. All right, Daniel, be well. Deals bashing damage. If you are wearing metal armor, it takes a full action to draw the weapon, as it is magnetized to your armor instead of an item interaction. As it is magnetized to your armor. So someone made a flail that has a metal head that is sort of attracted to armor, and so this could be a minor curse where you can't just draw it because you draw it out and it goes boop, and the head of the flail is attracted to your metal armor. Or if you want to make it something more major, you could say something like any any critical miss, like any roll of a 1, or if missing a target's AC by 5 or more, and you receive the attack, because it comes back to bonk you whether or not it's magnetized, or if it is metal, then it's attracted to you. And so it's a +2 flail, but here's a curse that's a drawback, right? I don't know, if we say 5, I know we can even say like by 10 or more. It's kind of an arbitrary number depending on how you want to scale it. I don't know, we'll just say by 5 or more. You receive your own attack. Steak and chips. Oh, that sounds really good. And I'm eating chips and salsa. Aqua says, if they attacked an enemy with plate mail, would it stick? Could do extra damage, possibly. A curse. It's a curse on you, or or if it's far enough away, like maybe it's just it doesn't have to be a strong magnetic, but when you're pulling it, you have to give it that extra little pull. He had some zombies getting very touchy-feely last session. Oh, Flail's thank you party. The party's barbarian. He has 3 and 1 is damaged. Okay. Next up, we have a malfunctioning item. So the magic is there, but something is having it short circuit. And that could be the curse, or it could be considered a curse. So now let's look, what is an iron flask and how does it normally work? And then let's break it. Alright, this is a legendary wondrous item. See right up here. This iron bottle has a brass stopper. You can use an action to speak the flask's command word, targeting a creature you can see within 60 feet of you. If the target is native to a plane of existence other than the one you're on, the target must succeed on a DC 17 Wisdom saving throw or be trapped in the flask. If the target has been trapped by the flask before, it has advantage on the saving throw. Once trapped, a creature remains in the flask until released. The flask can hold only one creature at a time. A creature trapped in the flask doesn't need to breathe, eat, or drink, and doesn't age. This is kind of like the ghost trap that I think, Pneumonica, if you're still here, that you're considering. You can use an action to remove the flask stopper and release the creature the flask contains. The creature is friendly to you and your companions for 1 hour and obeys your commands for that duration. If you give no commands or give it a command that's likely to result in its death, it defends itself but otherwise takes no actions. At the end of the duration, the creature acts in accordance with its normal disposition and alignment. An identify spell reveals that a creature is inside the flask, but the only way to determine the type of the creature is to open it. A newly discovered bottle might already contain a creature as chosen by the DM or determined randomly. I think the first, the very obvious, a very obvious one is, there is a 10% chance that you are drawn into your own flask when it is empty and you open it. It was used in dice camera action? Yeah, so it'd be kind of like a Pokeball. Exactly. It's just not as bright red and white. So all you've done is you've taken the exact nature of what the item is and something short-circuiting on it. Okay. It very much can, Coffee. Cursed items can be no joke. Again, sometimes just the knowledge that cursed items exist could take a little bit of greed off of a party that might otherwise be ransacking dungeons and towns and NPCs and monsters. Because the more magic items they gather, well, higher chance you're going to be exposed to a curse. He can, Aqua. And, I mean, now this says that it's a wondrous item that's legendary. But you know what? If you're playing in the... There's an adaptation of 5th edition for Pokemon that was made by fans. An item like this, it might not be a legendary magic item. It could be common or uncommon. They can, Pneumonica. As an option, you can cast Remove Curse, but that may not be powerful enough to actually remove the curse. Or in this case, we just have a malfunctioning item that would appear as a curse, as if like an extra magical layer on top of it. But you can cast Remove Curse all you want, and really it's just that this Iron Flask is broken. So we're taking curse literally and metaphorically. Now, another way you can apply a curse, there are detrimental properties that, now it's talking about things like artifact level items, because they can come with random bad things or good things attached to them. And so, an easy way to do this, curse an item and roll on the minor detrimental property or the major. Or, I don't know, two minors or a major. Or you can offer the choice to someone. You can say, I'll tell you what, player, I'm going to inflict a curse on you. Do you want 2 minor curses or 1 major curse? So, with this universal solvent, let's curse it. Percentile roll. 80. While you are attuned to the artifact, or item in this case, other creatures can't take short or long rests while within 300 feet of you. Alright. So, you don't need to attune to Universal Solvent. In fact, if we go up to Universal Solvent, this tube holds milky liquid with a strong alcohol smell. You can use an action to pour the contents of the tube onto a surface within reach. The liquid instantly dissolves up to 1 square foot of adhesive it touches, including sovereign glue. And so here, the curse can be on the bottle. And so, if someone is carrying this bottle, it might make them, other people might feel uncomfortable. You can describe it as the bonds of friendship or trust slowly feel like they're being eaten away at by the universal solvent. Or if it's already been applied because something got held up with some adhesive, then the object that was smeared with the universal solvent has the curse now that no one within 300 feet of it can take a long rest. That could be interesting for DMs, right? A statue that has a property similar to that. Now let's check out a random major detriment. After I catch up in chat. My friend saw this item. You would immediately make a character who uses multiple and keeps multiple monsters for battle. Okay, and then Pneumatica said null curses. Aqua says, I made a cursed teeth necklace that can't be removed. When the user attacks, there's a 10% chance it deals 1d2 piercing damage. But I look back on it as poorly designed because we always forget to roll a percentile chance. Especially in 5th edition, keep it simple and straightforward. You know, in that case, you know, you could just simplify it and say, every time he swings for damage, he takes 1 piercing damage that can't be, you know, that it can't be mitigated or anything. Okay. Let's come up with a major detrimental property for a periapt of health. Roll percentile 67. You take 8d10 psychic damage when you become attuned to the artifact. And if we go up to a periapt of health, here we go, a periapt of health. It's an uncommon item. You are immune to contracting any disease while you wear this pendant. If you are already infected with a disease, the effects of the disease are suppressed while you wear the pendant. And so maybe the curse is you have to prove that you're strong enough in order to wield it. If any of you played Breath of the Wild, the Switch Legend of Zelda game, in order to get the Master Sword, you actually have to undergo something like this. You have to prove that you are strong enough to wield the sword. And you do that by taking a lot of damage. And if you survive the damage, you've passed this threshold. So if you want to be immune to disease, it's going to test your body. Now, the periapt of health says that you don't have to attune to it. So it could be the first time you wear it. Which honestly means, instead of having a periapt of health that everyone just passes around and negates sickness anytime a party member comes up, because all you do is you like bonk them in the forehead with a little charm. Hey, Zulurpai, welcome. You take 8d10 psychic damage when you, or I guess that would be, you could even say, every time you use the artifact. Now, you can take that in a couple ways, by the way. Does that mean that, you know, you have to have a big major disease? And so you take it once. Or any time you would have caught a cold or the flu, you're going to get zapped. So you might get zapped a couple times a week because you otherwise would have contracted a disease. Because the periapt is preventing all disease. Not just mummy rot or lycanthropy or other magical or non-magical diseases. And so that could be a curse too. It defends you against all diseases. But it's going to zap you every time that it does. And you know what? If you're not strong enough to wield it, it could kill you. Aqua, you're correct. A curse can be just that. It can't be removed. In fact, as a writer on cursed items, Let's go back up to that real quick. Attunement to a cursed item can't be ended voluntarily unless the curse is broken first, such as with the remove curse spell. That's one way. But yeah, you might not be able to unlink yourself from it. And that could be if it's a big artifact that's cursed or a common item that's cursed. Yep, 12 for 10, it could possibly kill someone. Now, you as a DM can take inspiration if you think, oh, that's just going to wreck everyone. You can tone it down. But the point is going through the exercise of where you can find inspiration to apply curses to items. Fortunately, the probability of a full 80 damage isn't going to be that high. Because the average is going to be 4.5. Times 10 is 45 damage per use. Death might undo it, but what if it's a curse that if you die, you're still bound to it in some way? We actually made an item that it wasn't a curse, but it operated normally on that effect. Where someone was killed by a hangman's rope, and that rope was made into a whip. And then the ghost inside of it could actually... You whip someone, and it could be possessed by the ghost inside. All right. Here is something else that we can employ. Madness. Madness is in your Dungeon Master's Guide. And let me go to it here. I think I went too far. By the way, alien technology and other stuff, pretty cool. By the way, lingering injuries, there's a lot of stuff in here you can draw on. Come on, madness. Why is this not showing up here? We don't need the dungeon. That's fine. Same as Mania's? If that is what it was called in another edition, then perhaps. Here we go. Madness. There are short-term madnesses, long-term madnesses, and indefinite madnesses. And so in this case, we have an Ion Stone of Insight. Interestingly enough, that can bestow a madness of some kind. And so let's roll a D3 first. 1. A short-term madness. Percentile 3. Madness. The character retreats into his or her mind and becomes paralyzed. The effect ends if the character takes any damage. Now the severity is up to you as a DM. Does this happen once on attunement for 1d10 minutes or for a full 10 minutes with the Iron Stone? Or because it's insight, let's go back to that real quick. Your wisdom score increases by 2, to a maximum of 20, while this incandescent blue sphere orbits your head. You might say, anytime you make a wisdom attack, or a wisdom skill check, or a save, because you're activating the stone that's floating around you, or you could just say it's only one, anytime you make a wisdom save, or a skill or something. You could tie it to a particular skill. But anytime this happens, it actually triggers 1d10 minutes of paralyzation. And that's the curse that rides on this stone. Hey, Zeta, do what you gotta do. Work, homework, school, job, family, friends, pets. Take care of yourself. We'll be around. And when you are, we'll hang out together. And that way you know that you have all your stuff done. Your home game uses the Madness table when fighting against vassals of the Cog, which are cultists worshipping an eldritch horror. Excellent use of that too, Coffee. Alright, Tracy. Have a good night. Thank you for being a part and sharing your art. I very much appreciate that. Okay, lastly, we've gone through a lot of ways to come up with curses along a quasi-sensual, a quasi-conscientious or an awakened, like a sensing being. We can give the curse Villainous Traits, which is found on page 94. Now, villains you develop. In fact, we did prior shows on creating NPCs and villains. And I can probably link that down below when this gets on YouTube here. By their actions, villains provide job security for heroes. Chapter 3 helps you determine suitable villains for your adventures, while this section helps you flesh out their evil schemes, methods, and weaknesses. Let the tables that follow inspire you. Have a great night, Tracy. And look at this. Schemes, methods, a weakness. Any of the three can be applied as a curse, or all three. So, for example, scheme. Let's roll a d8. 3. Magic. Now let's roll a d6. 4. Offer sacrifices to a deity. So the curse here along a scheme, you must offer a sacrifice to your deity on a something basis. It's a compulsion. Or if you really want, you have to make a sacrifice to another god that's perhaps cursing this mithril armor. Maybe the armor, if you want to take it an evil bend, the sacrifice is you must smear the blood of your enemy on your breastplate. Or you must part with items or money or gems or whatever worth 10 gold pieces a week. It could be all at once at the end of the week. It could be a little every day. And so that could be a curse. Or we can build on this. You have a compulsion, or something bad may happen. Maybe you lose the traits of the armor if you don't meet that. Okay, so it's just kind of normal armor again. It loses the lightweight because it goes back to full. But, you know, you're probably a big, strong person. Method. Roll a d20. 10. Lying or perjury. The curse, you're compelled to lie. In some form or fashion. And to some extent or detriment. You have a compulsion to lie. Or to perjure yourself. But let's continue. Maybe it grants you a weakness of 2. The villain's power is broken if the death of its true love is avenged. Aha. So the curse is the curse could be broken if this sort of side quest is met. And until then, the curse could be one or both of the above. Or the curse is a derivative where anytime you see a male elf with chestnut hair and green eyes, you know, you get that feeling like, I have to, it's this person, I have to kill this person. I have to kill this person. Sounds like your brother, says 12 for 10. Oh my. A curse, by the way, there's a lot of other things that you can take. A plot twist can occur from it. Framing events, for instance, you pick up the armor, and when you do, you realize that you've received false or extraneous information. Or if it's a lingering curse, maybe you never trust everything fully. You have to check it out. There's all kinds of stuff here. It could make you act in a villainous fashion through a personality trait, somewhat similar to inheriting a flaw like we began with. Roll a d20. Also a 5. A giant bent on plunder. So maybe this curse lets you, makes you so you only speak in giant. That could be a low-key or a major curse. If you could only speak in giant. Or it makes you greedy. It can change goals and outlooks. It's all here for you. And by the way, just for completion, let's take a look at mithril armor real quick. Because, again, looking at your base item, whether you made it yourself and understand it, or you're drawing from the book up above here. Or as some of you might say, mithril. Mithril or mithril. It is uncommon. Mithril is a light, flexible metal. A mithril chain shirt or breastplate can be worn under normal clothes. If the armor normally imposes disadvantage on dexterity stealth checks, or has a stealth requirement, the mithril version of the armor doesn't. And so this could be a specific armor in some way. So in order to be, you get the sneakiness of it being mithril that you can wear under plain clothes. But it has you compelled to offer a sacrifice of some kind. Or, if we're talking about being sneaky, it instills some thieving notions. You have to lie. You have to cover for yourself. You have to commit perjury. Mithril. It's clearly pronounced mithril. Yeah. Mithril, mithril, mithril. What's English anyway? What does it matter? Vowels are just suggestions. Vowels are just suggestions. And some consonants, too. Oh, you got to copy the Similarian. Oh. By the way, cherry limeade. Good stuff. So, I hope that that this review of a cursed item, like, remember the basic nature. A cursed item has one paragraph in the DMG, and that's all it needs. It conveys, it sort of opens the door for you to apply this to whatever you'd like. And the capstone to this conversation is, as a DM, you can have silly curses and you can have serious curses. Bear in mind, whatever the context of your game is, what's the attitude of your players, what's the nature of the characters, what are you trying to present in your campaign, and create something that is appropriate. If you go on to create mithril armor that casts Gaius upon its wearer, or dominates the wearer, or otherwise it strips away full or partial agency in a debilitating fashion from a player, that is an excellent way to break your group or your game. And it can hurt friendships, or it could just make people say, you know what? That's fine. Sure. My character walks off a cliff because he loses all hope for the future. And, you know, your intention was to instill hope in the future and to make this person determined to fight the bad guy. But you read your friend wrong, or the character's intentions wrong. And so instead of trying to force an emotion and action, the character said, yeah, I'm just going to kill myself. I'm just going to walk off a cliff, or, you know, whatever. I'm not going to defend myself in battle. Oh no, my character dies. I guess I'll have to roll a new one. No, I can't. All right, well, just let me know when your campaign ends, and I'll come back later. Or not. So, you can have a ton of fun with curses. You can do a lot of stuff with curses that's unique. It customizes an experience for your game or an individual. It can provide a challenge. But it can be detrimental. You know, in ways more than, I don't know, you wear armor that tickles you constantly. And, you know, anytime you take damage, you have to roll a con save or burst out laughing like in Tasha's Hideous Laughter or something. By the way, you can use spells as a basis, right? The curses, it just activates a spell of some kind. But, you know, be considerate of that. I don't want to say that to hobble you and say, oh, if that can happen off of a curse, I don't know if I want to play with that. Hey, that's your call. Maybe all magic items are good, or, you know, just neutral to the bearer's intention. But things can happen. You can use curses to explore history, to explore events that have occurred, are occurring, or will occur. But it's up to you. And so we're having this conversation not because I don't trust you all. I certainly do. But it's good to talk about this, especially, you know what? If we have experienced this at our tabletop, and we can help other people not make the mistakes that we have made, that's the reason why we get together and talk. Cimmerillion. You're awake, sorta. That's fine, 12. Was this helpful to you all? Were you able to take away some good ideas? Maybe some inspiration or motivation? You know, not just with sentient items or cursed items, but let's look back on the week. We made common and uncommon. We made everything is on the table, and it turned into some named legendary artifact bag of devouring with a personality and a history. It ate a kobold, and that affected the spirit in it and all this other stuff. We created a PC, actually, or an NPC, that was it was kind of why would this thing exist? So we quickly made an NPC, and it created an entire story, a compelling story that had the possibility for a redemption arc, or a tragic character as a PC, a villain, or something else in between. Because we're talking about items. And we're talking about items in this fashion, and not just saying, well, my recommendation is in every case a longsword +1 is your most efficient weapon, and you should not play anything with other than a longsword +1. Well, just go to Walmart and buy a longsword +1. Anyone can have a longsword +1, though they're technically rare. You get what I'm saying? Make it a part of the character, not the character as a mannequin that wields magic items. To where you describe, instead of just saying, well, I'm an elven ranger, who lost his parents and had all this other stuff, or even just the bare, I'm a male wood elf ranger. All of a sudden, you don't even say your character. You say, oh, my character, and that's when you know you're slipping, if you just say my character. And nothing else, I should say. My character has an awesome longbow. Whoopity-doo! So, can someone else hold that longbow? So what's compelling about the longbow? Is the story about the longbow? Or is the story about your character? What's your character's personality traits? Are you an orphan raised on the streets after your parents died in a war? Are you a noble, kind of like a Robin Hood figure who wants to go out and, bring social justice to the world? What is... Give life to your items. Even if it's a normal short sword. In fact, you might even describe it as like, I have a blunted tip, and it has some patches of rust. Mechanically, it's a short sword. But you know what? It was your grandfather's short sword, and he served in the war. And you see this notch right here on this common 1d6 piercing damage short sword? That notch is where he knocked the helmet off of the lieutenant to the major of the general that allowed for his captain to land a killing blow. It wasn't even directly heroic. It wasn't the killing blow itself, but it aided other people, and you just created an entire cast and event off of a blunted, rust-patched short sword with no magic. Have it come to life. And you know what? Maybe one of these times I'll explain my own personal magic creation system that I use in my campaign. Because it has to deal with things like that. You can't just make a magic item. In my world, anyway. But of course, I'm a misanthrope who doesn't allow for extra planes, extra dimensional spaces, that sort of a thing. So how do I go about making magic items, right? I'm going to go AFK. If anyone shares the art for the flask, to share the page instead of the plain art. I've also been listening to the entire time. I've been enjoying the stream. Yeah, XCat, that's a very reasonable request. I don't know if you signed it or put a watermark on the picture, with your name and or your contact or your website, but you could do that too. There are many longbows like it. Exactly, but this one is mine. This is my rifle, this is my gun, one is for shooting, and one is for fun. XCat says, I'm tempted to imagine flipping this whole sentient item character thing. Have the player be the item possessing the person. Hey, that's an excellent idea too, XCat. Pneumonica says, so how do I go about making magic items? Well, Maddie, I'm sure there's a very three-dimensional process. Yes, I think you would appreciate the process behind making magic items in my own brain case, but there are ways to manufacture, and you know what? That could be a topic for a whole other week when we go into the creation of things. You want to build an army socially? You want to build a fortress physically? You want to manufacture magic items in ways that are described in the books? I'm a killjoy by having no dimensional spaces. Thank you. I'm sure you'll appreciate the challenge, Diadems. Because that means that I trust you. XCat Matty Morgs, by the way, check the art chat again to see the flask page. I think you'll like it. Flask of the Beholder. As an action, you may feed the flask a liquid of any kind, and it can produce a flask's worth of it once per day. When the flask is used, the user must roll 1d100, and on a 1, they will turn into a beholder. I like the thematic. In fact, you could probably even have like little eye stalks coming off of the letters up here. I also like your highlighting on the words too. That's good stuff. It's a good question, 12. I guess it just won't happen. Diadem says hooey to Pneumonica. Zeta says, I'm not to sound pushy, but you mentioned looking at my document earlier. Wasn't sure if you forgot. Zeta, I didn't forget. We came to the end of this segment where we're talking about cursed items. And now that the content that I was hoping to present has been presented, I'm going to take like a 5-minute break. I got to get up and take a stretch. I'll come back and it'll be open discussion time. And so I can open up the document and go from there. Because usually how the show goes, Zeta, I mean, not that I don't interact with you all over here in chat. There's usually a couple items that I like to discuss, and I want to throw that out there and get through that on our show. And then we can either interweave items, or if something is going a little bit longer than I'd hoped to discuss, we'll move into the next part, and then at the end we can wrap things up. This was something that came up in conversation that XCat made an art for, and so I brought it up to show off because it was a piece of art that was submitted on our Discord. But this conversation was from the beginning of the session, so no, I didn't forget. And you know what, Zeta? Look, I'm a human being, as far as you know, and as such, I can forget as well. So I'm not upset or anything that you asked to follow up. And we'll do so when we come back. It's fine, Zeta. Don't worry about it. There are no hard feelings here. None at all. All right, let's take a 5-ish minute break or so. Get up, stretch, refresh, get some water, get some cherry limeade, huh? And we can talk about other items. Zeta, you have that document. We can peer through it, take a look at some items if there's a couple in mind that you have, and we'll finish up this week of broadcasting by polishing up a couple items, coming up with ideas. If you need help with something, we'll go and do that.